This is the Sluggo, slant and go.
College football expert Joel Klatt. Tell America the name of your favorite podcast.
It's called Sluggo.
Casey, the Beef Cregan, Zach Locks Parker. It's Wednesday night. It's week 4, and Zach is perfect no more. Hey, that rhymes.
Oh, we've been working on it since Sunday.
It just came to me. I mean, perfect no more is the name of the show, the name of the episode. So that was planned, but didn't mean to rhyme there off the get go. But 8-1's not bad, Zach. You're still rolling along. You struggled through a 2-1 week.
Yeah, well, at least hit the big bets. But like I said, my bet finally ended on Sunday in the wee hours of the morning when Iowa decided to actually score. I don't remember who they played. Who were they playing? All they do is score once. I still would have got the bet. But, yeah, what a struggle that game was with all the lightning and the weather they had. But, yep, not bad. 8-1. I'll take it. Downhill from here, though, guys, for sure.
You would definitely take 8-1. Casey the Beef Cregan was in Clemson, South Carolina last Saturday, allegedly. I saw no pictures, nothing from the stadium that said Casey was there. How was the trip, Case?
It was good. It was short. I managed to work there on Thursday and Friday. I did, actually. But and was able to meet up with a bunch of boys over there and had a good time. It was a lot of fun. It was good to be back in Death Valley. It's probably my only game there this year, so it was fun.
Kevron checks in and says, good evening, y'all. Go Tigers.
Yeah.
Beat Wake Forest. Good to see you, Kevron. Thanks for checking in. Okay, Casey, what'd you take away from the game? You were there. Zach, was doing Zach things on Saturday. I watched most of the game, so I can comment also. But any takeaways from you in the stadium?
Yeah, the new lights are pretty cool. I think
Scoreboard?
The scoreboard's big, and they're doing a good job with it. People are complaining about putting ads underneath and the stats on the side, so it makes the thing look smaller. I'll tell you what, the fourth quarter video, the pregame video were full screen, and they were awesome. And the speakers are loud, the fans were loud. It was a really cool atmosphere at 8:00 at night on Saturday in Clemson. I thought, as far as the game goes, really slow start. I really thought that the blocked field goal they tried a 58-yard field goal. Clemson blocked it. Barrett Carter, I believe, started running. Yep. Just the kicker put the helmet on the ball. I mean, that happens, complete luck probably that he's a little svelte kicker, but he was a little kicker that put his helmet perfect spot. It kind of broke the momentum. It really felt like Clemson was on their game early. Even the first play, they roll DJ out and they throw behind it to Spector for like 12, 13 yards right off the bat. It was really you kind of felt good, and then that kind of just deflated even everybody in the stadium. Thought the defense struggled a little bit early, but there were a lot of kids there in the game, a lot of injuries for the Tigers. I thought the defensive adjustments at halftime were fantastic because they were kind of gutting us over the middle, and it felt like sometimes Parker McNeil is actually a pretty decent quarterback for Louisiana Tech. And
you called it. You're the one who said it.
He was finding really good open lanes, but I thought in the second half those linebackers were dropping and getting their hands up and Ruka Rororo must have blocked 3 or 4 passes, batted it down, so he was a defensive lineman getting his hands up. I think overall 48-20, you still win by 4 touchdowns. It's a win. A win is a win is a win. Are there things to clean up? Absolutely. Trust the coaches. They'll do it. I think Clemson will be just fine.
All right. I thought Nelson checks in and says Ben Bulwer's pre-hill running
awesome.
Video is the best. I saw that on social media.
In the stadium, that was impressive.
I bet. Yeah, I bet. I thought DJ Uiagalelei had a pretty solid game. Now, Casey and I were talking beforehand about some of the talking heads nationally and what they're saying. But I thought overall he had a pretty good game. And one of the things that stood out to me is that according to Pro Football Focus, and they're not everything, we've talked about that. They're just one group of people doing the stats. He's only had one turnover worthy play. Now, they didn't count his interception as turnover worthy because he threw it to the right place and what's his face stopped or whatever happened there, stopped the route and it got intercepted. But I thought he had a pretty good game, not perfect. And I've got something coming out on Rubbing the Rock later this week, tomorrow or probably Friday, about how good he is running the ball this year. I don't think people realize he's had 13 forced missed tackles already this season and 9 first downs and, on and on and on, a 15-yard run, something that he wasn't doing last year, right? He was overweight a little bit last year, wasn't as mobile. But he had a good game throwing the ball too. We've heard a lot about how bad he is throwing the ball, but think about some of the passes that you and I saw, Casey. I don't think Zach saw them. That we saw when he hit Antonio Williams, when he hit Bo Collins. I mean, he had some real good passes Saturday night. Ngata, yeah. I forgot how many big-time throws he's got on the season, but it's more than Spencer Rattler. And Spencer Rattler, by the way, also has like 9 or 10 turnover-worthy plays already. So people are cheering Spencer Rattler at South Carolina and still looking to last year's DJ, or saying that he's last year's DJ. I'm not saying he's a Heisman Trophy winner. I'm simply saying he's much better than he was last year.
I think one thing that to expound just a little bit on something you said about him running the ball. I think he's running now when he needs to, rather than, I think they still design runs, but it's not nearly as many as they designed for Trevor or for Deshaun Watson or even Kelly Bryant. I think now he's actually going through some progressions, and then when nothing's there, that's when he's running. And he's running with purpose. He's getting up the field. There's no side to side anymore. It's running up the field, and he falls forward. So, maybe it's maybe he doesn't trust himself throwing the ball out of bounds. So now he just takes off and tries to get what he gets. And it has been the running with purpose has really been really good for him, I think, so far this year.
If you take out the sacks, I think the number is 145 yards rushing in 3 games, which is 40. Almost 50 yards a game, trying to calculate in my head, 48 or so yards a game. So I think he's done really well running the ball. What didn't happen really well, and Zach, I've been joking a little bit. I don't know if you remember seeing any of this or not, but the back end of the defense, the young freshmen, Toriano Pride and Jaden Lucas, did not look comfortable Saturday against Louisiana Tech. I mean, there was face guarding and interference and just general didn't look comfortable on the field at all. So hopefully some of that changes because Sam Hartman, if Dabo thinks the Louisiana Tech guy can spin it, Sam Hartman can spin it.
Yeah, they're going to face somebody this week that's extremely capable.
Yeah.
So hopefully the back end gets some guys back. You need Makuba back at safety. You need Wiggins back on a corner just to help these young kids out. Again, thankfully, they were going up against Louisiana Tech. A walk-on who had just received his scholarship was the kid who burnt everybody, number 80. I forget his name, but he literally just got a scholarship last week. In things that only happened to me situations, I was sitting next to the quarterback's brother. Parker McNeil's brother was sitting right next to me, so I was hearing all about what was going on at Louisiana Tech. But,
well, did he go to Seton Hall Prep?
He didn't. He's from your neck of the woods. He's from, I think he said, west of Austin, in a town that starts with an S, but I don't know.
It's Texas. There's probably 600 towns that start with S.
He said the name multiple times, and I'm like, oh, my buddy's from Kyle, Texas. And he's like, yeah, that's south of Austin.
So you're talking about Parker McNeil. I'll have to look him up and see where he's from in Texas. Okay, now let's talk about some more fun stuff after Clemson and Louisiana Tech. Georgia eviscerated. I don't know what the word is. I know Zach saw some of this game. Georgia just blasted South Carolina 48-7. Zach, what do you got on that one?
Yeah, as expected. I had a feeling that that they would not take the foot off the pedal, and they didn't. And it didn't help that the backups, when they did come in, still just kept on just plowing down the field. South Carolina's not good, folks. Just newsflash. I don't know, Marty, if you can put a ticker down at the bottom of the podcast. South Carolina officially not good, but man, there's a lot to be desired. And Georgia's really good. Their defense is insane, and their quarterback is. I just can't get used to him legitimately being a good quarterback. So, more to come. We shall see, because their schedule softens up. I think Tennessee will be the next probably decent game that they get. So we'll see. But it was fun to watch. Everybody in my neck of the woods is very happy right now.
Yeah, it was they just throttled them. Casey, I don't know. Did you see any of these games, these other games on the list and at the tailgate, or?
We did, yes. Yeah, we watched the South Carolina-Georgia game too, and had a little bit of a crowd behind us, and no one got tired of the score. It was weird.
Common theme where you were.
Even though you probably have the top two rivals of Clemson, it was no one was tired of the score at all. It was crazy, but yeah, it wasn't close. As soon as Stetson Bennett, the 19th, juked the dude at the goal line, and there was a huge yard sale. Jocks on sale at the 8-yard line. It was unreal. At that point, it was just like, all right, guys, we turn on, I don't care, Old Dominion and Virginia, please, or somebody else, like anybody. But we didn't. We watched it all the way to the end. It was, of course, it was a brutal scene.
I watched a good bit of it. It was fun. It's hard to say, as you mentioned. It's hard to say when Georgia's crushing people coming off a national championship, but it was a fun game to watch, because there was never a doubt. Like some previous South Carolina Georgia games, they even lost one a few years ago, right, in the rain or whatever it was. But this one was a no doubter. Texas A&M beat Miami 17-9. Kind of gave me a little hope, because Mr. Van Dyke looked kind of pedestrian. Doesn't mean he can't tear up Clemson when they play, but he did not look like a world beater against a good Texas A&M defense. They were without their leading receiver, Restrepo, and I heard he's going to be out 4 to 6 weeks. So I don't know if he makes it back for Clemson or not, but Miami's offense, Miami is not back yet, right? They still have work to do. Anybody put eyes on this game, Zach? That's the SEC team there.
I did. I watched and I waited and I waited and I waited. It was like a movie that just never really had a great ending. It just kind of fizzled. So A&M just survived by the skin of their teeth. I think they moved up a spot in AP poll, which is hilarious. I think they're 23 now. They were 24. But I'm sorry, A&M. I said Miami. Miami just, I don't think A&M is that great, and I thought Miami was going to come out with a little more gusto in this one, but just didn't put it together. So, what do you do?
Beef? Did you see any of this, Beef?
We did. When we got back to the house, I was just waiting. It's funny that a team that can throw up 70 the way that Miami can so quickly, once they play a defense with a pulse, they only scored 9. So, I think Tyler Van Dyke is a good quarterback. I really do. And I think maybe the hype, we should pump the brakes on the hype for Miami right now, because, I hate what's the transitive property. I hate it, but App State went in there and whipped them. Miami probably thought that, Sunbelt team goes in there and wins. We're going to go in there and win as well. And they didn't show up one bit.
Not at all. Sylvester, we believe you meant a live show. We are all married, so hope that's what you mean. That's what Miami's doing last few years. Yep, not quite back yet. Not quite back yet. Hey, Beef, I checked it out. It says it's got Parker McNeil as being from Austin, and he's from McNeil High School, which I believe is in Round Rock, which is north of here. So yes, he's from.
His brother said he lives like his brother, who's 10 years older than Parker, lives there in that whatever Schadenfreude town or whatever.
Germantown in Texas.
There are plenty of German towns, Fredericksburg and other ones around here. Plenty of German towns around. North Carolina State finally played somebody non-conference, defeating Texas Tech 27-14. I saw zero of this game. Anybody?
Yeah, I didn't see it either. I was expecting a little more fight out of Texas Tech, though. Honestly, I just saw the score at the end. I was like, wow. So
Yeah, I know NC State jumped out big in this game and kind of held on, but still won by 2 touchdowns. It was a little lackluster, I think, performance from Texas Tech, and realizing that they have a first-year head coach as well. That they're still in transition. And not to say that they were a top program. Obviously, when you have a first-year head coach, you probably are not a top program. But I thought they were going to give NC State a little bit more of a scare than they did. I don't believe this game, the score is indicative of how close or how much of a blowout it kind of was. But if you look at the stats and the box score, NC State was really led by their defense here. Their offense did just enough to to win, but the Devin Leary stats were not very good. The running back stats were not good at all. So I think this was a full three phase team win here for NC State, which is a little scary as they come up on Clemson's schedule next week. That if their offense is down, they can still do it on defense and special teams.
If I was a little smarter, I would have bet NC State because Texas Tech had a look ahead week. They played Texas this week. They're hosting Texas this week, and I think this. So I should have bet on that game, and I probably should have bet Texas Tech this week because this is the letdown week for Texas. I'm going to say on the road in Lubbock. Always, I think they're playing in the day though, but the tortillas will be flying and. Look for Texas Tech to at least cover the spread this week. Wake Forest, this week's Clemson opponent, Wake Forest, had to stop a 2-point conversion to beat Liberty 37-36. I saw a good bit of this game and gave me some confidence about the Clemson offense. I think Clemson's going to be able to score 30 on this Wake Forest defense. You would hope if Liberty can score 36. Zach, did you see any of this?
I didn't see it at all. I just kind of saw it on Gamecast. I was out of the house at the minute, but yeah, I was following along, going, "Holy smokes! Are they gonna? This is the ultimate look-ahead game for them as well, you know." Yeah. But yeah, they just somehow pulled it off there at the last play, like you said. It's pretty crazy.
Beef?
Yeah, I wouldn't necessarily take too much stock in this game because, like you said about Texas Tech and NC State, the look-ahead games, this could have been a look-ahead game for them. They were up, again, pretty big as well and allowed Liberty to come back. So they're still putting up 37 points, but it does give you kind of a little bit of confidence that maybe the Wake defense isn't as good as a normal Dave Clawson defense, although Clemson put up, 40-something last year on them. So you hope. But Sam Hartman's Sam Hartman. I mean, he's still Sam Hartman. So we got to hopefully cover that mesh, but we'll get to that later on.
The mesh. Let's see. Sylvester says he watched a bit of this game too. I think we should be able to score offensive line gelled a little bit better last weekend.
Yeah, I agree. The pass protection is fine. It really is good.
Sylvester, you're hitting on all the things Casey and I talked about while we were waiting for Zach to show up. Some of this game, I actually bet on this game. This was my big bet last week, Texas and UTSA. I only watched it flipping through because I've had a 2,000 bet on it. And UTSA, just like I thought, gave them a game for about a quarter and a half. And then Bijan Robinson, I think, is still running all over UTSA. And I think he ended up with like 183 yards and, 64 touchdowns or something. And Texas pulled that one out. In Penn State, another game I bet on, stupidly. I thought Auburn, I guess I've been listening to Zach and the SEC, nobody can beat him. And
this is Auburn, it's different.
It's not Georgia or Alabama. I guess I missed that part of the soliloquy, but I bet on Auburn stupidly, and man, they were terrible. Zach, what'd you see in this game? Anything?
Yeah, they looked really bad. I was hoping for a good 3:30 matchup, and man, yeah, maybe Penn State's good. I don't know. They looked pretty good in all phases, but Auburn looked really bad to offset it. So, Auburn coach. Once again, here we are with an Auburn coach on the hot seat, I would imagine, and not to mention that he was coming in with the allegations. So I don't know, man. I wouldn't expect much more out of Auburn this year. It's going to be a pretty sad Iron Bowl, I would imagine, too.
Yeah, I think Sylvester puts it. I think he says it perfectly. We did watch some of this game as well because it was 3:30, and one of the guys I was with's daughter goes to Auburn, so it was had a little bit of interest in our tailgate. But man, they rolled over. I think lack of a game plan is a really, really nice way to say that they were not good at all. I mean, they didn't know what they were doing. It was ugly. It was ugly early. Kind of they were playing pillow fight a little bit early, and then Penn State was like, all right, we're going to score here and then score a lot.
Mm-hmm.
I texted Locks when it was 14-6, thinking that I had a decent chance to win this bet, and I think that was the last text.
That was it. Cricket text.
No more text on that game was had. Okay, yeah, this week we know Clemson's playing at Wake Forest, and I went off on the pre-show with beef about this. People are still talking about DJ Uiagalelei like he's last year's DJ. I'm not saying he's a Heisman Trophy winner. I'm just saying he's better than he was last year. And it's obvious when people are not watching the games, right? He still makes mistakes. He's not Deshaun Watson. He's not Trevor Lawrence. But he's also not 2021 DJ Uiagalelei. And you embarrass yourself when you go on first time, when you go on a national podcast and you say Cade Kubik should be the quarterback, that's embarrassing. But when you say DJ is not throwing the ball down the field, what did we just say 5 minutes ago? He had 3 or 4 long passes last weekend. Is he throwing it down the field every play? No, but neither did Trevor Lawrence or Deshaun Watson. So don't tell me you watch every game, but it's obvious you didn't watch the Clemson games. Okay, Florida at Tennessee. Zach, you can talk about this one. What do you expect out of this game?
I like Tennessee in this game. I think they're hot. They're ready to get a little revenge for all the beatdowns they've taken from Florida in the past. They have a great offense. I think it's gonna be a fun game to watch. There's a couple of good SEC games this weekend, so I got the shirt on. But I look forward to it. Florida, if they can come back and show up, it might make a game of it. But I just think home field and Tennessee is really feeling themselves right now. So I think it'll be a fun, high-scoring game.
Nice. And Nelson says Brian Harsin won't last until the Iron Bowl. I do believe that would be true. Sylvester, so many drops. He's overthrown at times, but sometimes because receivers slowed down or stopped. Yeah, I haven't looked this week, but last week he was in the adjusted completion percentage of high 70s because of all the drops. So we'll see how that works out. Texas at Texas Tech, already mentioned this. The Tortillas will be flying back and forth in Lubbock. It's a 2:30 game, so I might actually be able to watch that pending the next game here. What time is the Arkansas-Texas A&M game, Zach?
That's a late game.
Okay.
I think it's 8.
All right. So maybe I will get to see some of the Texas Tech game. And 2 battles of undefeateds that nobody probably expected at this point of the season. Southern Cal is battling Oregon State, and Duke travels to Kansas. They're both 3-0. Somebody has a pick on that game coming up. Wonder what it'll be. Nelson, most of the national media has watched DJ's first quarter Georgia Tech. True, because they think Cade Kubik should be the Clemson quarterback since the one drive against Georgia Tech. Absolutely, Nelson. Couldn't agree more. Okay, let's get to the picks this week. If I was a good host, I'd have it ready. Casey, you didn't do that. You didn't do it like this.
I'll just fill right now. I can't believe you missed out on 3-0 Rutgers on the games of the week this week.
There was a team that College Game Day was at. It was App State. They had a kind of a small, quiet finish to the end of that game.
They got James Madison this weekend. That could be a good game too.
It could be.
You guys, you have editing rights to the agenda. You can always add or delete or tell me.
I did.
No.
I added it in pen right here at the bottom.
That helps a lot, Beef.
App State right here.
Yeah. Thanks.
We're here to help. We're here to help.
I appreciate you
Keep
guys doing this show like it's 1979 and there's no internet where we can share a document.
Don't think you could have done any worse if you tried.
Well, I take
wild.
that as a victory.
These guys are doing research, so why should I? Beef, you stink the most.
A true believer in what they're doing in North Carolina. That's why I'm picking Virginia Tech,
Tennessee.
I love Spencer Rattler.
I agree with Marty.
I don't like this.
Look, you smell it, the back door cover.
Well, first of all, I forgot to put the other I agree with Marty in there. I forgot to cut that out last week's show. But I'll have some time this weekend as I watch myself go 3-0. Locks was 2-1 last week, but he fell or he lost some ground in the point standings, which we'll bring up in just a minute. Beef was 1-2. His strategy of betting the same on every game did not work. I went 2-1, but I came out a little bit ahead. I think about 600 points over Locks because I bet Grandma's farm on Texas, and they finally came through after 16 years of doing this. Locks has the lead at 14,856.36, and those are Sluggo bucks. I'm in second with 8,567 and a dime. And Beef is 2 spots out of first place with $6,578.51 in Sluggo bucks. Locks is tearing it up. And when I get the graphic up in a little bit, you'll see flames are around Locks' name because he's 8-1. I'm assuming you want to go last. Picks. And let's change it up. I'll let Beef go first this week. Who you got, Beef? And
I was doing the math, and if I continue down this same path, I can really only bet $657 for the remainder of the season. So we'll go first up, Southern California. We talked a little bit about it before. Not really. They're undefeated. Undefeated. They travel to Corvallis, Oregon, to play the Oregon State Ducks. Southern Cal, the number 1 offense in the country. Oregon, quietly undefeated. I think Southern Cal covers the -7 on the road, and I'm actually going 1,000 Sluggo bucks. So I'm completely firebombing my $657.
37 seconds. Love it.
It lasted long enough for him to get it out of his mouth.
Good pick.
I'll be there. I'll be there, Chancey, when it goes to East Piscataway.
Oh, and Sebastian says heart for Oregon, brain to USC. All right, I'll go second. UCF is playing the Fighting Jeff Collins. I hate when people say that, but I just did. And they're given 17 points. I think Georgia Tech has given up already. What are we, 3 games into the season?
That's bad.
They've scored 10 points. So I'm going to go 1,000 bucks UCF -17 locks.
All righty. I'm going to take. I have the Coastal Carolina going back to the well from last year. My people at Coastal. They are playing at Georgia State this week. 0-3 Georgia State in front of a capacity crowd of 25,000 in Atlanta. I like Coastal Carolina. They're what are they favored by on this one? 2 points only, which is a little surprising. 3-0 over 7-3. Georgia State, I did see them play the vaunted South Carolina Gamecocks in Game 1 this year. They have a decent defense, but I don't think it's anything that Coastal Carolina won't overcome. So I am going to – this is a Thursday night special too. I'm going to bet 500 on this one for Coastal Carolina.
Maybe we're going to be up 500 by midnight.
500 before we even get to the weekend. Beef, pick number 2.
I am going with our Clemson Tigers. Clemson, I got it at -7 as the line moved very quickly from opening at 7.5 to 7. And my boy Will Quackenbush, I don't know if that's his first name, but Quack said, get on it. So I did. I listened to Quack on 105.5 The Roar.
Beautiful.
I'm going Clemson -7 for $278.51.
Oh boy.
I need round numbers in my life.
270 what?
278.51.
Just look at the digits he's got there.
Yeah, I'm trying to
No, I
get to
got
zero.
He's trying to
Perfectly.
efficiently get to zero, and it's working pretty well.
Yeah,
Okay, next pick. Never in a million years did I believe I'd be picking the Kansas Duke game, and they would both be undefeated. But here I am. I find myself on Kansas and Duke, and I believe one team is kind of for real, and one team is not close to being for real. I want to take Kansas -8. This game is in the vaunted football mecca of Lawrence, Kansas. And I think Kansas covers that 8 points rather easily, but I only care if they cover it by 1. Kansas -8, 500 Sluggo Bucks. Locks.
All right. My next one is Kansas State at Oklahoma. Oklahoma's starting to get a little groove here, I think. They looked great last week. I think it's just the Venables influence, get everybody fired up out there. So Kansas State has actually won 2 of the last 3 times these guys have played, but I don't think that's going to happen this year. I will take Oklahoma and the 13 points at home for 750. I like these big spreads. You guys know that. That doesn't bother me.
You love the big ones. You love the
No
big
hooks,
ones.
though. No hooks.
No hooks.
No hooks for locks, but big spreads. Okay, Beef, your third and final pick.
Finally, I'd be hitting better than a lot of players in the MLB at 2 for 9. 2 for 11, I guess, right? 2 and 9. No, 2 and
No,
7.
you're 2 for 9.
Yeah.
You're 2 for 9.
Stanford is +13.5 traveling to number 18 Washington. I think Michael Penix is really good, but I also think that this game's going to be a little bit closer, even though it's in Seattle. Hopefully the mountain's out for all those folks that live out there, out west there. But Stanford +13.5. I think they just keep it close. 500 Sluggo Bucks.
And a nice round number. Pretty good, Beef. Pretty good.
Yay.
All right, my final pick of the night was my first pick when the spreads came out. Syracuse is hosting Virginia. Now, I saw each of these games, each of these teams' games last week, or at least some of them, because Syracuse was just fascinating how Purdue hosed up the last minute and a half of that game after taking the lead. They had 3 personal fouls, I think, had to kick off from their 10-yard line. Syracuse ended up with the ball like on the 30 and scored, and then they got more personal fouls, and somebody got thrown out, and just wild how Purdue lost their cool and the game. But this game is going to, and I saw some of Tony Elliott's team, and I don't know what happened. Brennan Armstrong does not look like the same guy. Maybe he didn't have the same line, that's for sure. I think one guy's at Michigan, and maybe didn't have some of the same receivers. I'm not sure, but they didn't look very good. They eked out a 1-point win over Old Dominion. So either Old Dominion's an ACC killer or Virginia is just kind of mediocre. They're playing in, I don't even know what it's called. It's not the Carrier Dome anymore. Whatever dome it is.
No air conditioning dome.
Yeah, the no air conditioning zone. Dome zone. What did I get Syracuse at? 7.5.
7.5.
7 and a hook. Okay,
Yeah.
I don't think it's going to matter. It's a double-digit win for Dino and my guys. As you guys know, I like one big bet a week to kind of put a little pressure on the other players on this game. This is going to be my big bet of the week. I'm putting 4,400 on Syracuse.
It's back.
To cover the 7.5 points.
This Marty's so much better than nickel bet Marty.
I don't even know who you are anymore.
I like the big spender, Marty. I don't like the
It's the JMA wireless dome now, and I'm sure that their wireless connection is just as good as their air conditioning in that dome.
Right.
4,400. So if I go 0-3, my season.
What will happen?
But if I go 3-0, there's a little pressure being applied. Not to Casey because he's 2 spots out of first place. But Zach, pressure's on.
Yes,
Third
it
final
is.
pick, Mr. Locks.
Boy, oh boy. Not going to let you do it to me. All right. Wisconsin at Ohio State. Ohio State favored by 17. I have Ohio State in this game. In the shoe, as they like to call it, our favorite fans of Ohio State. Man, I don't see how Ohio State just doesn't destroy Wisconsin. Wisconsin's not looking great. It's just a matter of how much I want to bet now. Marty's trying to mess with my mojo. I can see it.
It's working, Beef.
1,000 Ohio State.
1,000 on Ohio State.
Come to the basement.
That's hilarious. Okay, let me see if I can get this graphic up now. Here we go. Locks is 8-1. He has Coastal -2 for 500. He has Ohio State -17 for 1,000, and Oklahoma -13 for 750. Is that right, Locks?
That's it.
All right. Casey the Beef Cregan has got the ice cubes by his name on the screen. He's 2-7 on the season so far. He has Clemson -7 for 278.51. We're all pulling for you, Beef. Southern Cal -7 for 1,000, and Stanford plus 13.5 for 500. The only one of us that took an underdog. I am taking UCF -17 for 1,000, Kansas -8 for 500, and my big bet of the week, my favorite team of all time, if they win, except for Clemson, the Syracuse Orange and Dino Babers -7.5 for 4,400 Sluggo bucks. I mean, I just bet $4,400 on Syracuse. What could go wrong, fellas?
On a Friday night. In Syracuse.
It's Friday night in the MCA Dome, so we'll know by Saturday. So, that Clemson Wake Forest game, I'm either going to be happy and celebrating or just not really care.
Insufferable.
Yes, well, I'm going to be insufferable either way. But
yeah, I'll come by it, honestly.
I don't know. Look, Sylvester says Wisconsin's going to keep it close, Locks.
He says he'd love for them to keep it close. They're not going to keep it close. Let's just be honest here. Thank you, Sylvester.
Locks has been on fire this season. Casey, not so much, but we still got a long ways to go. We got about 10 weeks to go. And, well, for me, if I lose on Friday night, I won't have anything to go because I'll be back to betting nickels and dimes and just trying to get out of last place. All right, fellas. Beef, you want to wrap this puppy up? Let's get out of here and go have some dinner or whatever.
Sure. Thanks to everyone in the Seldom Used Reserve College Football Discussion Facebook group, especially Nelson Wilhite for all his help, John Chancey for being a good all-around guy, Uncle John McGee, as always, Sylvester Miniea for, I hope I didn't pronounce your name wrong, for commenting a lot tonight. We appreciate it very much. Sluggo Podcast and each and every one of you who listens, likes, shares, and participates. On behalf of Marty Seldom Used Reserve Coleman and Zach Locks Parker, I am Casey the Beef Creek, and thanks so much for watching and listening. We'll see you right here next week.
When I'm in first place. First place?
Yeah.
I think we're done here.